Welcome back, Last Quest Barbecue Show, the show where we make meals to die for. Today, something very special, North, South Carolina pulled pork. That's right, it's a bit of a mix-up and a mash. As I've learned from pitmasters and from watching Smokin' Joe, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, you know, even within South Carolina, there's north and south parts, and the food is different and the treatment is a difference. This one, again, northern South Carolina, up here north of the border, pulled pork, very special, very fun. Thanks for everyone who's been subscribing. I hit the 500 subscriber mark, fantastic. Thank you so much for your support and your continued feedback. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that subscribe button, smash that subscribe button, and click the bell so you get alerted when episodes come out each and every week. All right, so what are we making here? As I said, we're making a pulled pork. We have a delicious Dubreton rustic pulled pork shoulder. Notice that it's rustic, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the cook. I'm going to top it off with some great cattleman spice. This is kind of not really to script exactly, and we're going to top that off in the sandwich. Check that out. Smoke show. Again, all this from All BBQ Canada, my partner in giving me some of these spices. So thanks to them, and be sure and shop online. I'll put a link in the show notes, and that's what I'm going to be putting on the grill. And then very special, we are going to be cooking it in this concoction here. And then this has been in the fridge overnight. And what have we got in here? We have apple cider vinegar, about a cup and a half. We've got a tablespoon of chili flakes. We've got a tablespoon of black pepper. We've got a tablespoon of kosher sugar. It's been sitting in, and you'll see how we use that. So long cook, not many steps. Let's get started. All right, let's get started here. So very simply, we are going to take our Dubreton pulled pork. Sorry, it will be pulled pork right now. It is a pork shoulder. And as I said, you know, the Dubreton folks, and thank you for your partnership, Dubreton, have got a number of different kind of brands, so to speak, within the Dubreton family. And the rustic here, so you look for the blue label, rustic. What does rustic means? It is the highest quality of care for the animals. I love that because really, you know, what as one farmer said, you know, what you want, I'd love for the food to have a good life and, you know, maybe one bad day. But I really think that Dubreton takes that seriously and takes care of it. And here's a nice pork roach. There's no bone in it. It's already been deboned. Not much I'm going to do with this. Look at that marbling. Looks fantastic. I'm really going to enjoy this. I think I might take a little bit of this out, actually. But not too much. Because I'm going to leave that on, actually. That is just fine the way it is. I'm not going to change it. A little bit of a fat cap here. But again, I'm going to put up with that just fine. Look at the way that runs through. This is going to be a delicious roast. So all I'm going to do with this, and this is a little bit off script, is put some carne asada on it. Again, thank you, All BBQ Canada. And then get it on the smoker. We'll let this settle in. And then you'll see where we'll put our northern South Carolina sauce on it after about 3 hours. So about 2.5, 3 hours. And we're going to be cooking this on the Yoder for about 275, at about 275. For not the entirety of the cook. There'll be times when I crank that temperature up a little bit. And we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to want to get the temperature up to probably around 200 degrees by the time I'm all said and done. There we go. Let that set in for a bit. Going to be putting our Yoder thermometer into here so I can kind of keep an eye on it as it's cooking. Oh, really, you know, it's a long cook, so I'm not so fussed about that. But that's it. That's all the prep. Good to go. So now let's get this onto the Yoder. Okay, I've got a Yoder. It's been running actually for a little bit. I just wanted to get it up to temperature. I brought it up to 350, now down to 275. So what is it now, 266? So it's hovering around exactly where I want it to be. So let's get this on right here. And there it shall stay. Let's get this plugged in. And then that'll give us a read on our temperature. All right, there we go. That's in and going. That's it. We'll be back in 3 hours. Okay, it's 3 o'clock, so we're about 2 hours, 45 minutes into the cook. I've been keeping a close eye on it, of course, with my Fireboard app. Check that out. So we're hovering at about 165. That's good. We're heading to like about 200 eventually here. And I got a few more hours to go for sure, long and slow. We're holding it to 275, 274, nice and steady. So let's take a look. And we will be spritzing this with a 50-50 combination of apple cider vinegar and water, but let's just see if that's ready for that. Oh yeah, look, it's coming along. Oh, it's nice and dry, actually. I actually think it could use a little bit of that spritzing now. It's nice and dry on the surface here. So let's get that mixture and give it a bit of spritzing. All right, so let's pull our rack out here, which I actually often forget to do. So I'm gonna spritz it here with apple cider vinegar and water, 50-50 mix. Freshen it up. Look at that, looking amazing. All right, perfect. And now let's sit that back in, keep that going, probably for another hour. So we're about 5 hours into the cook. Let's check our app and check our temperature. All right, so we're at 190 degrees for the pork roast. We're hovering at 275, so 190. We're about 5 hours, 4.5 hours into the cook. And so now comes the step where we add in our north of South Carolina mixture. So once again, this is made up of apple cider, about 1.5 cups of apple cider, red chili flakes, pepper, and salt. It's a tablespoon of each of those. And I put this in the fridge. I did this last night, so this has been sitting basically for 24 hours. So what we're gonna do now is pour half of this on one side, and then I'm gonna come back in another half hour and do the other side. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, that's looking amazing. And I'm gonna pull this out a little bit, because of course it's going to drip. Now I've got down below it drips into a drip bucket. There we go. You both get all that aroma. Soak that in the red chili flakes and just give it a nice soaking. So we're going to come back in about a half an hour, flip it around, do the same thing again. We are now another half hour, 40 minutes into the cook. So what are we, almost 6 hours? Ooh, that's looking good. I am going to flip this around and add the rest of our sauce to it. Ooh, look at that. So let's give this a shake. And I'm gonna just add the rest here. It's gonna sit on top nicely, actually, because it's all nice and flat. There we go. So all right, we'll leave that on for another. Now right now, the temperature is hovering at about 198. I'm looking for about 205, and then so I'll pull that off and pull it apart and let it sit and do some other things. But for now, another half hour to an hour. All right, what time are we now? It's 6:19, so close to 6 hours. Yeah, basically 6 hours into the cook. So let's do a double check on the temperature. I've got my probe that's telling me about where it's at, but I also like to take a little thermopop and pop that in addition. So let's pull this out. Wow, look at that. Look at that color. Isn't that beautiful? Wow. Oh, this is gonna be amazing. What are we at? Like 193, 196, there we go. 197, close to 200. That's exactly where we want it. So we're gonna take it off the heat, and then what we're going to do is wrap it in foil, and we'll let that sit for about half hour, 40 minutes, and just let it rest. Now I'm gonna leave it in the yoder. Now I've turned the yoder off, the temperature will drop, but this will keep it basically at room temperature and let it rest. Boy, yoder's gonna need some cleaning, man. Let's just let that rest for about half hour, 40 minutes, and then we'll get on some buns. Whoa, this is gonna be good. Looking forward to this. It's been half an hour, so let's have a look. Let's do the big reveal. Wow, very nice, very nice, very nice. All right, so let's start pulling it apart. Oh, it's just falling apart. Look at that. The smoke ring has just penetrated through this whole thing. So we're just gonna pull it apart. Ooh, it's hot. It's still smoking hot. Looking amazing. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna chop it up. Now, is it truly exactly 100% northern part of our friends in South Carolina pulled pork? Well, it's not, because it's missing the fat cap. And the piece I had, and maybe I'll do another episode, didn't have a fat cap on it, and part of the episode was to actually sear the fat cap on and then chop it up. It's almost like it's drone that goes into it. But for now, this is more than the next best thing. Now this recipe, I think I mentioned, comes from Smokin' Joe, which is one of my favorite YouTube sites, so please go subscribe. It is a live chat every Wednesday, which is just a pile of fun. Joe, if you're watching this, thank you for everything. And I've done a couple other cooks that he's inspired as well. This one's probably truest to form. Now I used the different spice from our friends at All Canadian Barbecue. Okay, but we're not done yet. Now, let's get it back onto our tray. That skin has got a nice, beautiful crispness. And a little bit for the chef. Oh my goodness, this is good. Oh, that is so good. Next, last stop, we have more of our South Carolina sauce. Be careful, it's kind of like pouring pasta one in the pasta. A little too much would probably ruin it, but just enough to, there we go. Give it some flavor. Let's toss that around. Amazing. That soaks it right up. Pour it on a little bit at a time. Just gotta have a bite. Oh, that's amazing. Check that out. Oh, this is so good. Honestly, like, this is really good. One of the best pulled pork I ever made. Okay, so from here, we got some brioche buns, and I'm going to butter them up and then put them into the oven and just crisp them up a little bit. Put that on the buns, and then we're gonna put them face side down, all well buttered. Perfect. All right, so this is what I've done. I've got my roasting pan, or whatever we want to call that, and then I've buttered the buns, and then they are face side down just to crisp them up. And I've got the oven running hot. So let's just let those crisp up and then get our pulled pork onto them. All right, these buns are ready to come out of the oven. Let's get them up and out. Oh, look at that. Hey, look at that. Let's get some pulled pork piled high on our first bun. Let's bring on the smoke show. A wonderful Canadian product and courtesy of All BBQ Canada. I'll put a link in the show notes. They have a great assortment of products, spices that are super hard to find, some Canadian products, some international. They have the Cattleman's Grill. And so I'm just gonna add a little bit of this smoke show. Look at that. Jalapeno ranch, lightly smoked. And there we go. Beautiful. Check that out. North, South Carolina pulled pork with smoke show, lightly smoked jalapeno.